Welcome to the BuiltOnAir podcast, the variety show for all things Airtable. In each episode, we cover 4 different segments. It's always fresh and different, and lots of fun while you get the insider info on all things Airtable. Our hosts and guests are some of the most senior experts in the Airtable community. Join us live each week on our YouTube channel every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern, and join our active community at BuiltOnAir.com. Before we begin, a word from our sponsor, Untitled Backups. Untitled Backups provides automated Airtable backups to your cloud storage for secure and reliable data protection. Prevent data loss and set up a secure Airtable backup system with Untitled Backups at Untitled.com. As one customer, Sarah, said, having automated Airtable backups has freed up hours of my time every other week and the fear of losing anything. Longtime customer David states, Untitled Backups might be the most critical piece of the puzzle to guard against unforeseeable disaster. It's easy to set up, and it just works. Join Sarah, David, and hundreds more Airtable users like you to protect your Airtable data with Untitled Backups. Sign up today with promo code BuiltOnAir for a 10% discount. Check them out at ontoair.com. And now let's check out today's episode and see what we built on air.
Welcome into the Built on Air podcast, episode 4 of season 22. Good to be back with you. Back with Alli and Kamille and our friend Marcus. Welcome, Marcus.
Hey there.
Good to have you with us. And Marcus has been on the show before, so returning guest. We love having people come back and give us updates on everything. So we'll talk with Marcus a little bit later in the show. First, I'll walk us through what we're going to be doing today. We always start with our Around the Bases, keep you up to date on all the news and latest happenings across the Airtable communities. Then talk a little bit about our sponsor, Untitled Backups. And then Marcus is going to show us what he's built. He built a full wiki inside of Airtable, so he's going to show us that. And then we're going to do some gaming with Kamille. She's going to show us a game that she built in Airtable. And you'll know what Kamille does in her free time. Can't get away from Airtable. And then finally, talk about how you can join our community and get involved. And then we'll end with Alli kind of talking about how to use summary fields or I assume it's a roll-up field that she's going to use to do some global variables and some tricks of the trade with Alli. So with that, around the bases, let's see. Start off on LinkedIn. If you want to work at Airtable, there are some openings. If you're an Airtable expert, they're looking for base optimization specialists. I thought this was interesting because it says, where is it? So Ask an Expert program. My understanding is they got rid of this program, but maybe they're bringing it back or they didn't get rid of it. So I thought that was interesting. I know they used to have it, and I've heard that they got rid of it, but maybe not.
I've heard recently in an enterprise account that I'm in, there was like at the bottom of the standard support email, like we've received your request kind of thing. It made reference to, you can also like speak to one of our experts. And I think it was in reference to this. So I think it went away and came back perhaps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe. So maybe they're bringing that back. But anyways, if you wanted to work there and you've got the expertise, check that out. Ken, we're going to be jumping. We're going to be talking a lot today about different AI topics. This one I thought was interesting. This is kind of general AI, not necessarily Airtable specific, but this is in a Harvard review case. They have the trends. I thought it was interesting to look at general AI use cases and the differences. So in 2024, generating ideas was number 1, and then you see all the 1 through 10 here. And then 2025 is just kind of interesting to see how AI is evolving and the use cases for it. So therapy companionship is now number 1. Generating ideas went down to number 6. And then we'll actually be talking about this in a couple of the other items, but generating code jumped from 47 all the way up to 5. Improving code went from 19 to 8. So you're seeing a lot more of code generation. Fun and nonsense is still there. Let's see some new ones. Organizing my life and finding purpose are new use cases. Healthier living jumped up big. Anyways, thought it was interesting. I don't know if this aligns with your uses of AI. What I thought was interesting was editing text. This is where I use it a lot for documents, modifying documents, creating documents. I assume that would be in this one, but that one jumped down to 45. Thought that was interesting.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
I do like how the category is fun and nonsense.
Yep. So yeah, we're having less fun with AI this year than last year.
It's important to distinguish between fun and nonsense, because as we all know, some of y'all nonsense is just straight foolishness, and we don't have time for that here.
Yep. That's right. Okay, so yeah, let us know how you're using AI, if you align with these trends. Okay, this one is interesting from Reddit. So anybody who's built anything like at production scale, it gets complicated trying to manage, like a development environment and then moving those changes into a production environment. So this person actually came up with, this was news to me, I might check this out, came up with a tool it is a little bit technical. It's a command line tool, but it basically will, if you have a development environment and a production environment, you can get the schemas from both, and it'll do a diff to show you what's changed. So you can at least see like, oh, this is where my production, is off from my development environment as far as the schema is concerned. So it's got a couple commands. You can get the schema from any base. You can validate it. Don't know what you're validating it against. I'll have to look into that one. Maybe you can define your validation of what you want it to look like. So if somebody changes it, you can see that they changed it. And then the last one is the diff to see how it differs between two different bases. So it'll show you, here's a new base, here's a modified table, or a new table, modified table, remove table, show you the fields that were changed. So it's kind of a cool tool. One thing I would say is I think it's still in beta, but there's a sandbox. Has sandbox gone GA yet, or is that still in beta?
It's beta.
I literally just got an email. I applied to the beta like probably 5 months ago, and I just got an email as we were starting this saying they're almost ready to give it to me. So I'm excited.
I've been testing it for a while, and it's the state that it's in now is much better than the state that it started with. Pretty promising. So the hope is that people won't have to do solutions like this in the meantime, but it took, like Alli said, something like 5 months between the public announcement that there was a beta to expanding that beta out to more than just like a handful of very specific, I think, enterprise accounts, to sort of the wider Airtable expert audience. It's still not a public beta. It's a reserved beta. So who knows when it's in the position to be available, generally speaking. But eventually it'll be easier. But in the meantime, it's pretty rough.
Yeah, this kind of is without that sandbox. I mean, I know we've implemented this approach of dev base and production, and you've got to recreate everything and a lot of manual efforts. So it's kind of a cool tool. It doesn't fix the problem, but it helps with the problem to at least see what's changed.
I was on an integration project that involved a lot of custom developed applications that were built from the ground up. So they had your standard dev, UAT production environments that when the time came, there were certain scripts you could run that would push stuff from one environment to the next so that we can publish all that information out. And then I was the one team representative that did not have that functionality. So when it came time to plan for launch day, there was like 2 hours in the middle where I was like, I have to rebuild the same app again. So everybody hold tight while I build this thing all over. And then it was 2 tabs or 2 windows, just looking back and forth, just making sure that everything was set up exactly as it was before. Not fun.
No,
Yeah.
not fun at all.
Yeah. So yeah, let us know your best practices in dealing with that. Yeah, Sandbox will, I think, be the standard way going forward once that's out.
Really looking forward to that. I'm sick of having to stay up until 2 a.m. on the weekends when I need to make big changes to a base that everyone's using. It's like,
Yeah.
don't want to do it while people are actually in it. So
Yeah.
that'll be exciting.
Yeah. Okay, here's another tool. It looks like this one is free from Airtable Advisor. It's called Sheet to Table. And it basically, if you're in Google Sheets and you want to convert your sheets into an Airtable base, it'll allow you to do that. So it'll generate the Airtable schema for you. So if you're looking to convert from actually any CSV, so it could be an Excel sheet or whatnot, and you just get the CSV, and then it will create the schema for you. I don't believe it will actually create the table, but it just creates the schema. So it is free. I don't know who's behind this. I just came across this, but if you're looking for a newsletter of tips and tricks, it looks like whoever's behind this does a weekly article that you could subscribe to. So airtableadvisor.com.
They're very
Okay, next one. Airtable mistakes. So Ryan Hildebrandt is an Airtable consultant expert. And this is his list of things to avoid if you're working in Airtable. So avoid giving your team access to the backend tables, meaning the data layer, using single selects for dynamic data that changes in production, like client, copying data from one table to the next, bad table structure, trying to synchronize with other PM tools, building a system too rigid or too flexible for the maturity of your process, not building a detailed and current company brain first, i.e. building tech before fixing process, using tasks. I'm not sure what that one means. Sending internal Slack reminders when events happen in Airtable. Also not sure why that is bad. Any setup that requires your team to still have a Google Sheet or other PM. And then leave me a comment if you, Okay. Disagree, agree with any of these?
I definitely agree on the sleeper hit of building something that is too flexible. Oftentimes, you have a business process that's either your own or you've hired an expert to help you build something in Airtable that takes a complicated process and puts it somewhere where all your data is in one place, and that's great. But oftentimes, you can overcorrect and have a system that's supposed to have like its own settings panel, and each setting can have X number of variables in it. And then if the setting panels break, now you have this component as part of your app that might not have needed to be there in the first place. If you nail down what the app is supposed to do in the first place, you can cut down on all the stuff you have to build in order to get that to work.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. And I agree. Now that interfaces are a thing, being able to only invite people to the interface is awesome for most cases. There's still some things that I wish you could let the users do. Like, I don't know. I find myself, if I'm working in an interface and I'm like, oh, I really need to see this field, but I didn't put it on this screen, like, and I have to go back to the back end or like edit and add the field. I don't know. I would love to like give the user, be like, oh, they could also choose to hide and show this subset of fields on this list or something like that. That would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one that I would add is like basically anything that has to do with permissions at all, like in terms of giving people access to the workspace, like as a creator or even as an editor. Like I think going back to what Alli said, now with interfaces, like most people like just really should not be in the back end. And what I also find, which is really frustrating, is when people who have the ability to share the interfaces, they are sharing the whole tree of interfaces when maybe that user only needs one, but then they end up with access to things that they probably should not have. But the idea of permissions in Airtable is too abstract for a lot of users to understand. And so, you just end up with this permission soup that is not very helpful and easy to manage.
I agree.
Very true. All right, next one. Okay. So if you like to see real world use cases, if you're in the marketing space, content marketing, here is a demo of a LinkedIn content system built with AI agents and Airtable. There's a whole 7-minute video here that you can watch, and it looks like he's using make.com to implement it all. So if you like to see how others are doing their content marketing strategies, as well as getting into AI agents, here's a pretty good one that we'll put the link to in there so you can see it. Production. Okay. All right. Alli, what did you find here? You did it, right? You did it?
I don't think I'm going to do it, but I was laughing about it yesterday. So over the weekend, Philip Lakin, who works for Zapier now, was teasing that they were going to be announcing something silly and interesting. And he even said, like, oh, our legal team is probably going to be worried about this, and you should all be buckled up. And so everyone was like, what's he going to say? And then yesterday morning, this is what he said, which is so funny. They announced that if you legally change your middle name to Zapier, they will give you a lifetime access to Zapier's Pro plan, 100,000 tasks every month for the rest of your life or forever, it says. All sorts of things, along with immortality in the Automation Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
If you look at his post, as like after an hour had gone by, he updated it and said, 5 people had already applied. So we'll see how many are up to now. We're starting
I feel like you could add an accent mark somewhere in there and just say, oh yeah, my middle name is Zapier or something like that, and it could sound like a name,
Right.
There's a way to spin this.
Zapier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you're French, it might already work.
Oh my gosh.
Then you got to decide, is your middle name Zapier or Zapier?
It's Zapier.
Yeah, it is Zapier.
Zapier makes you happier.
That's right.
They say.
Yeah. Very cool. All right, we'll see. It looks like there's enough interest. Somebody might actually do it.
Seriously, if you do this, please tell us. I really want to know someone that does this.
This is interesting. Zapier has interfaces, but I've never really played with it. But here's an example of it.
That is interesting.
I think one of the most interesting things about this whole thing is their value of $6,500 per a year. That is a lot. Like, if you don't do this, you're on the pro plan. Is that the typical price point? Because that's
at this task level, yeah. So 100,000 tasks per month. There's cheaper ones if you don't need that many tasks.
100,000, yeah, $489 a month. Well, that's if you pay annually. $733.50 if you don't. So that times 12, that's about it. Yeah, that's
goodness gracious.
It's actually more, yeah. Interesting. Cool. Yeah, I didn't realize you could create landing pages in Zapier. It's kind of crazy.
Make
I like that.
the intern do it.
Everyone can reap the benefits.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, here's back into the AI world. So this is something I've actually been looking a lot into. So MCP is the new buzzword. If you don't know what that means, it stands for Model Context Protocol. So basically what it is this is kind of like the next hot thing in AI. Essentially what it is at the basic level is a wrapper around a REST API that allows AI models and agents to communicate with an API, but through prompting instead of like having to know the endpoint. So companies create these MCP wrappers, and there's places that host them. And for the most part, really all they're doing is they're basically putting like AI functionality on top of a REST API. So this person is playing around with an Airtable MCP. I don't think Airtable has an official MCP. I think these are all just community built ones. And there's places where you can find them. There's websites that like host all of these. But basically what it does is it allows you to like send a prompt. So instead of knowing the API like endpoints to talk to Airtable, you can just send a prompt that just says, update this table. And then the MCP converts that prompt to the relevant API calls to perform the API function. And so now you can just do prompt-based, API programming. But in this scenario, like you're still limited to what Airtable makes available in their API. So like creating a whole database, you can do that as much as is possible within the REST API, which means there are certain fields that you can't create, like formula fields and things like that are not possible. So this isn't a workaround around those limitations. It still has the same limitations as the API.
Yeah.
So I don't know if any of you have gotten into the MCP hype.
I haven't, but I love her follow-up comment here. She says, I'm way too excited about this, and I have a dinner with normal people now. That's how I feel all the time.
Yeah.
No one wants to hear me talk about Airtable, but that doesn't stop.
For this example, what would be the difference between this and using CoBuilder?
Yeah, that's a good question. So my understanding, so I haven't used the Airtable MCP, but I think CoBuilder would actually be better because, well, CoBuilder can do more than like the REST API. So like CoBuilder will actually build interfaces and things like that. So I don't think these MCPs can do anything like that because the REST API can't. So CoBuilder will actually take you further than this would. But this one, you probably have more control over, what you want everything to be. But you can get that. CoBuilder is pretty cool. It's for creating new bases. So, yeah, I think CoBuilder is probably a better option.
I suspect they're not going to release their own official MCP to kind of incentivize you to use CoBuilder.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they cannibalize themselves.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's valid insight. Okay, so this one's also in the AI space, not specific to Airtable, but just big picture trends. So OpenAI, ChatGPT just announced that they are partnering with Shopify, and they're basically making it to where you can now shop and purchase things through ChatGPT. So shopping might see a shift where now you have agents doing your shopping for you and buying things. Hopefully you don't have a bug in your automation that just starts buying everything.
That's insane.
I know it's Shopify, but the first thought to me was several sci-fi movies. My second thought was we already have enough of a problem with people creating their own like bots to buy out scarcity items, like think of the nightmare that is Ticketmaster. Yes, exactly. And the idea of this formally spreading to other types of products, I find upsetting.
Yeah.
This is a scalper's dream.
Yeah.
It really
Why
is.
make your own when Shopify will bake it right in?
Yeah.
This
Yeah,
is wild. I do not like this.
Yeah. It introduces a whole new world.
Oh, wow.
It's coming. I don't think there's anything we can do to stop it at this point.
Shout out to everyone trying and failing to get a Nintendo Switch 2.
Yeah.
Heart goes out to
I
you.
heard those are in demand. Okay. This is from Airtable. So we talked, I think, last week about they have in beta the ability to generate AI images. They just added GPT-4o, which was a huge upgrade in image quality. So now that's supported directly inside of Airtable. I believe this is still in beta. Yeah, so it's on the waiting list. So you got to sign up.
Is the video we're watching Airtable's interface itself?
Yeah.
Mode? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, so they've got dark mode.
Can you make that full screen?
Yeah.
Is this...
Yeah. This is an interface.
Airtable. Once again, you buried the lead.
Somebody in the comments said that, like, dark mode, and then somebody said if you just add theme dark class to the HTML body, it will change it to dark mode.
Enrique, wait a minute, I work with him.
Oh, wait.
Marcus, you probably know Enrique too.
Yes. Also used to work with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, Airtable. Years ago now, there was some kind of marketing screenshot or mock-up that was released multiple times, not just once, for some kind of feature addition to interfaces that was about something completely else. But in the screenshots that they had, it was a theme picker that said light, dark, and custom. And so I was like, oh, great, we're going to have dark mode or custom themes or more colors. And I said that in one of their events or something, and they're like, no, we're not. And I was like, well, I'm looking at your screenshot. That's what it says. And doing what was just suggested, that's a pretty competent dark mode out of the gate. I don't see what's the holdup.
Yeah, wow, that's crazy.
What's the issue?
Not bad at all.
Yeah, what is going on with that though?
Some bugs on some of the fields, but yeah.
I think it's the when you're filtering or whatever, they highlight whatever column. So that probably isn't ready yet, I guess. But by default, that's pretty close.
Yeah. That's so
Very
good.
cool.
It's funny that when interfaces first came out and people were like, we want more color choices, and they were like, yes, more colors are coming. Like they said it in the community a few times. And then when they like upgraded the pages and got rid of the blank layout, or like, you know, all the other ones that used to be there, they removed all the colors. Now you can only have light gray. Like that's the opposite.
The choice for colors and interfaces is, once again, I use the word upsetting, because if you use a button field type, you have access to all colors except for teal, unless they fixed that. I've always found that strange. But if you add a button in the interface, you only have 4 colors, I think. And it's the standard bootstrap coloring convention.
Yes.
Primary, which is always blue for reasons unknown. Then red, green, gray. I think you could do dark gray. How wonderful. And white. It's just weird that they have this whole suite of colors, 10 colors, and then 4 shades each, I want to say, perhaps 5 shades each, and you can't use any of them.
Yeah, it's so silly. And sometimes they have only 2 shades, sometimes they have 3, sometimes they have 4. It's like,
yeah.
But I have to say, I love the Airtable colors. I literally like spent some time making my own palette. Like I like took a screenshot of their color picker and like saved all the hex codes so that I could just use them.
It is a very nice palette, and I do like that there are 10 different like hues that you can pick from sometimes.
Yeah. Sometimes.
Yeah. All right, let's move on with time. One more quick one. Just saved a client $360 on their Airtable subscription by deleting 2 inactive collaborators. That's a lot for a spreadsheet. Airtable's more than a spreadsheet, but the point stands. Sometimes you got to check your users. You may have users that are no longer in there and you're paying for them. So, and they're, depending on what plan you're on, you're paying for each workspace. So be sure to do an audit occasionally on that. Get your users cleaned up. Okay, that is the roundup for today. If you're running your business on Airtable, it's best practice to have your data backed up outside of Airtable. That's where OntoAir comes in. It stores your data in Box, Dropbox, Google Drive, or OneDrive, and it backs up your data, your schema, your attachments, and also has restore functionality. So check it out. Use promo code BuiltOnAir, give you a discount, and start saving your data today outside of Airtable. So check it out at ontoair.com. All right, Marcus, let's see what you've got with your wiki. Get you on there. There you are.
All right. Well, really quick before I begin, a couple things. One, I said this last time, but it bears repeating. I have a speech impediment, so sometimes I talk a little slower than other people. Thank you for your patience. And then secondly, I am an Airtable consultant, and really my whole mission is just to find ways for people to experience a more liberated life by finding time to rest. And so I'm in this work to help people work less so that they can enjoy being human, touch some grass, dream, live, think, and ideate about the world that they want to live in. And so really at the end of the day, these are more than just, this is more than a database tool. I believe that it can help us become our more fuller selves. And yeah, I'll get off my soapbox now, but I wanted to bring to you all this fun use case. I have a lot of clients that I've just really recently started to implement this with. And when I deliver a big build, there are a lot of things that need to get documented. Traditionally, I would write up a Word doc and just type it all out there. But I thought it would be better to be able to access the documentation in the context of the tool itself. So I created a wiki /guides system directly in Airtable so that people can learn how to use the tool, all their other resources within the context of Airtable itself. So if we go over to this page, we have a guide section, and it's using the interface to just build out guides where you can add text, pictures, links, just do all of these things. It is a very, I think, simple setup. This is mostly just long text fields and image fields and conditional visibility. But I think even in its simplicity, it can be very, very helpful. So we can have a bunch of different guides. And I even have a video section where you can upload a video. And maybe you have a Loom. You can upload your Loom or your instructions there. You can give timestamps, just help people to navigate. So it's pretty dynamic in how you're able to use it. We also have a section where you can learn more. You can view other articles that might be related to the one that you're currently viewing. You can favorite things. And so if there's a resource that you use frequently, you're able to add it. I'm hoping this works because this is a duplicated base and I did not test this. But assuming it does, you can tab over and it will pop over here. Might not work on this base, but that is okay. Just like you can view here, I also wanted to provide a way to edit your articles too. So there's an admin side where you can look at all of your articles and you can. So it's the same basic layout, but now all of these fields are editable, all that good stuff. These are all the published ones, but I have a couple that are still being worked on. I have it color coded so I know which is which. For this one, this one's almost done. Let's add a related article. As soon as I click on this button, it's now published. You can also use this button as well. And then we can view it on the public view. Oh yeah, I have to fix that link from my last base. Ignore that. But now we have a published article. You can add any sorts of tags or group them however you want to, all that fun stuff. And yeah, it's simple, but I think it works very well. Any questions?
The variable section titles I thought was very clever. I was wondering how you accomplished that, because I was like, I guess that could be a bunch of conditionally visible like groups, but that would be crazy. And this is much smarter.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite things is that I actually provide 10 different sections that gives the user a lot of control of how they want to format their article. You could put everything into one block, and that is perfectly fine. But if you want a more structured layout, you can also spread out all of this information into different sections. You can, it's just as simple as titling it, and you can do whatever you want. I've also done multiple images here that people can kind of click through. That was actually an idea from one of my colleagues. And then if you have like a step-by-step guide, like every screenshot could be taking you through each of the bulleted steps. So there's a lot of ways. I really wanted to give the admins a lot of control over how they use this. There are some other features I wanted to add that aren't in this demo, but are in some of my live prototypes, like the ability to add a feedback form. So if something is like spelled wrong, or maybe it's out of date, you can click on a link at the bottom of the article, and it will let you submit your feedback, and it will go to the appropriate person to address that feedback. Other features I've had that aren't in this demo are the ability to designate different authors. So maybe someone created one of these articles, but they want other people on their team to be able to edit it too. And so you can define who is able to actually edit each of these articles. Maybe it's your backup. You can do it based on a group or an individual user. But there are a lot of things that I've included in different iterations of this that I've used, because I have a content and web dev background. I've used a lot of CMSs throughout my career. I've published a lot of content. That's kind of how I got my start. And like, so this is like a world that I know very well. And when it came to doing my documentation for my Airtable clients, I just thought, I wish I could do the things I used to do back when I was publishing blogs. And I was like, wait, I can just build it. So that's how we kind of landed here.
I love it.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say every demo I've ever seen you do has been so creative and so cool. I just wanted to say that. Very impressive.
The background content is always where the fun is. When you were giving your intro, the dashboard screen we were on was talking about how many hostages we had. And I was like, I wonder when we're going to get to that. And then we didn't.
Yeah, that's something I don't like to talk about, because it's kind of a stain on my legacy.
You built a dashboard for it.
I didn't realize that I was still, sharing that.
Well, you could, and now you can share you can share an interface page publicly. So you could make this your personal blog and share it publicly. That's kind of cool.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
I've thought, now that you bring that up, I thought a lot about for my personal website. Is this a format that I would like to use to like share my blog content? I think it would be fun. I think now I have a good framework, but I really do want to keep on building this out. There's I think there's a lot of possibilities, and there's also a lot of possibilities for taking this framework and then publishing to other CMS tools, or like publishing or making more dynamic articles on like a proper CMS that has, just more capabilities than what an interface offers. And so I think for the future, I'm exploring those types of things. I'm really excited for what Kamille is about to show, because the other thing that I'm doing is exploring more games built in Airtable, because we have to have fun. I think it's the human spirit to have both fun and also do some nonsense. So, I think pirates really embody that spirit, and so I'm hoping that through this, it inspires some folks to have a little more fun and nonsense.
Yeah,
I love it. Did you see Justin's comment? Yes.
Yes.
The Pirates blog be called a blog. Very
So
good. Thank you, Marcus. And if people, are you open to new contracts? If people want to reach out to you, where can they find you?
Yeah, you can reach out to me. I guess just find me on LinkedIn. If you're in the BuiltOnAir community, just send me a message. I promise not to ask you to walk the plank, and so just reach out to me there.
Very good. Awesome. Thank you. Okay. Move on. Kamille is going to walk us through her game that she built.
So I know Marcus said he was excited. Mine is a little bit more of a lesson in hubris than it is a game at the moment. So what we're looking at is a screenshot from a real game that inspired what I was trying to replicate. The name of this game is called The Blueprints, and it's basically a puzzler where if you have ever played the board game Betrayal at the House on the Hill, it has a similar mechanic in that every game it's a new layout of a house that you're building. So there's a bunch of different cards that you put down, each representing a room, and each room might have certain resources in it. And some rooms have one way in and no way out, like a closet, for example. And some rooms have a door on each of the four sides. And the goal is to get from one side of the house to the other effectively, without giving any spoilers to like the story behind the game. And what I found interesting about it was there are certain rules and parameters in order to get this game to work. And I was wondering if I could build it in something like Airtable, the underlying logic of it all. And the answer was no. I'm still going to go over what I tried to build because I think it's interesting, but you'll see very quickly where I hit a wall and where I could possibly go with this. I'm going to continue trying to get more and more of the original prompt down, but Yeah, it was an interesting experience over the weekend trying to build this. So the name of the base is called the Blue Princess, just to play on that. And the general idea is you can play the game multiple times. So I have a table of games, very simple. And then within each game that you're playing, there's multiple rounds or days. And each day that you are building, the grid of the house is going to look completely different. So there's a game days table, each tied to a particular game. And then there's the grid itself. So looking back at this screenshot, there are 5 columns and 9 rows where you can place down a tile or a room. And this one, the antechamber, is always in this slot, and the entrance hall is always in this slot. So where I started to build was saying, let me get 45 different rows in this table, and then giving them X and Y coordinates for the column and the row that tile exists in. And then I added a default room field so that I can say what room should always be in this slot. And that links over to the rooms table, where I can have a name for each room and a floor plan. So an example might be the den, which has 3 doors on it. And then you can see in the center that if you walk in this den, you get +1 gem. Then I started to build out the characteristics of each room. So what doors does this room have? North, east, south, and west, in order to programmatically get where can you go once you've entered a particular room, and whether or not you can connect 2 rooms together, right? You can't walk through a wall. So you need, if I wanted to build a room that's off of the den, I would have to add one here, here, or here, but not above it. Or if I added one above it, I wouldn't be able to walk into the den from here. And then I immediately hit a wall there because there's so many things about how you could implement the rest of the mechanics that I started to get a little bit overwhelmed. But some of the things that I was considering adding here as well were the different resources. So again, looking back at the den, you get +1 gem. That could easily be a field that's called gem, that's numeric. But if I go down to the parlor, for instance, when you walk in the parlor, there's a puzzle inside of it. So that's not a resource really, it's an activity you do in the room. That's fine. I could have had a puzzle field that's a checkbox. There's either a puzzle or there isn't. And then you get things like the rotunda, where that room itself can rotate. So while I can say it has a north door and a west door, that actually changes based on how you place the tile down. And it can change after the fact as well. So as you can imagine, I immediately got confused as how to build the different, what would the experience even be like in trying to play this game if you were in Airtable. And then the last table is the drafted rooms. So for each game day, because the grid of the house is going to look different from day to day, I have an automation that's running to create, for all of the 45 different spots a room can go, create a blank record that's tied to that game day, except for if it's already supposed to have a particular room in it. It'll pre-populate the entrance hall and the antechamber in their default placements. So looking over at the interface, you're kind of limited with what Airtable allows you to have on an interface. So first you have to select which game you're currently playing. this is not a great experience, but I'm in game 1, and then, like I said, each game can have multiple days. So again, I'm on my first day still. I haven't finished building out my house, and then I'm at the point where I need to start filling in the different rooms. So ignore these numbers; those are just sort of an auto number counting up. I need to be able to pick what room goes into, let's say, slot 33. So I have a door on the right side of my entrance hall, so I should pick a room that has an entrance on the west side. But now, once again, limitations of Airtable. There's only so many fields I can have visible. So once again, this was all and what did I call this? A lesson in hubris, in that I had the makings of an idea to replicate something that I liked, and then hitting different blocks with the platform itself, and then my struggling to find what would be the best schema to house all of the different variables I want. I'm going to guess which room has a door on the west side. I think the billiard room does, and now Airtable is betraying me by not showing the floor plan. That's always fun. There we go. So in theory, you could continue to build out the grid of this house row by row, but man, would that experience suck.
Nice. Very good.
So cool. I'm a big fan of this game, and I think you're closer than you probably think. This is super cool, and I always love everything that you come up with. It's just it fills me with joy.
Well, thank you, and I feel obligated to continue, but man, yeah, I'm already tired.
Let's do it.
Yeah, we'll need an update in a couple weeks. See where it ends up. Awesome. Hey, thank you, Alli. Do you have enough time, or do we want to wait till next week for yours?
Maybe let's wait till next week if that works, because it's a simple concept, but it's powerful and I think deserves a little bit more time.
Yep. Fair enough. We will do that. We'll hold on to that one for next week. So if you are not in our BuiltOnAir community, join us. BuiltOnAir.com/join. We'll get you in for free. There's a Slack community of thousands of Airtable users and fans talking every day about Airtable, as well as a great newsletter and our YouTube channel. Subscribe there. Follow us on all the socials. And if you have something to share, we'd love to have you on. Always looking for people to join us. And Marcus, thank you for joining. Glad to catch up with you and see what you're up to. We'll have you on in the future as well. So with that, everybody have a great week, and we will see you all next week.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining today's episode. We hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to check out our sponsor, OntoAir Backups, automated backups for Airtable. We'll see you next time on the Built on Air podcast.